What is up, guys? I'm hoping y'all are having an outstanding Saturday night. Hopefully, all y'all's teams won. We had to come live for the biggest game of the day. The rest of our recaps will be dropping tomorrow and Monday, so tune in for those. But we got to get to this Georgia Clemson game in which the Bulldogs, number 5 in the country, not for long though, pulled off the big upset 10-3 against the Clemson Tigers, number 3 ranked at the time. Probably drop a little bit, but man, I just want to say this, Clemson fans, it's not all going to be bad. It's mostly going to be about what Georgia did. But Kirby Smart and that defensive game plan, whatever it was, needs to go up in the College Football Hall of Fame. That was a clinic of a defensive performance by the Georgia Bulldogs. I mean, as I'm pulling up these stats, guys, they absolutely dominated Clemson. Clemson had 180 total yards, and they had a total of 2 yards rushing, in which they averaged zero point 0.1 yards per carry in their 23 attempts. Georgia's front seven did something that I don't think anybody saw coming. I understand the Tigers lost Travis Etienne to the draft. Understand, they were Shipley got a lot of time and they were rotating guys in and out. I believe they rotated in 3 running backs. They had Dixon, Shipley, and Pace all got carries. Dixon got 1 carry for 10 yards. Shipley had 4 carries for 7, and Pace had 4 carries for 7. And then you had the negative 22 yards from DJ, in which he got sacked all night. 7 sacks by this front seven for Georgia. And for me, this was such a statement win for Kirby, for the Georgia program, to show people, hey, all that preseason hype we were getting, it's for real. We are here to play this year. A lot of people were hard on JT Daniels coming in. A lot of people, including myself, had questions about the defense, given that Tyke Smith was out. The offense missing, I believe it was like their top 5 pass catchers coming into the season, all out with injuries or other various reasons. This team showed up. Nolan Smith, Trayvon Walker, Jalen Carter, all of those guys have to be mentioned. But my MVP for me is Nakobe Dean. That dude is the truth, and I was so impressed that he got 2 sacks from his inside linebacker spot, and he was all over the field. Dean is, in my opinion, has an argument to be the best defensive player in the SEC, if not the country, after tonight. He is the leader of this Georgia defense, and he played absolutely outstanding. And a lot of people, had questions about the pass rush after Aziz went off to the draft. No questions here. I think right now, you look at what Alabama did today and what Georgia, there's no question that those two teams have the best front sevens in the country, and it's not even close. And right now, I think I would give the edge to Georgia because they did it against a better team today. And for me, I'm not going to put the whole loss on Clemson or DJ or Dabo or anything like that, because when you look at Clemson, they absolutely played great defense. It was just this Georgia defense played just a little bit better. And the one mistake that DJ made all game, Georgia turned it into points. That's the only difference here on what happened in this game. JT Daniels threw his pick. They had a fumble, all that kind of stuff. But what Georgia did is take it to the house when DJ made his mistake. I thought Daniels played well. I mean, 22 for 30, 135 yards. That Clemson defense was swarming. And I don't put a lot of stock into JT's, passing stats because, like I said, he was missing all his guys. And I came into the game saying they had to establish the run. Zamir White, Kendall Milton, Cook, they were consistently getting just chunks and chunks of yards, and they were able to establish a few drives. Bauer stepped up as a receiver. I think he was the leading wide receiver for them this game. But the telling stat of the game, guys, 2 rushing yards for Clemson. That's my initial takeaway. That's what went wrong for Clemson. What needs to improve? Everything in terms of the offensive line and the running game was abysmal for Clemson. And that's what I want to get at as we get into this what went wrong for Clemson. The ACC had one of the worst weeks in terms of showing off their talent on the offensive line. It started with UNC getting clobbered by Virginia Tech's defensive line. It started with, and then in second game, Miami gets just wrecked by Alabama's front seven. And now Clemson, there were times where the effort was so minimal that I felt bad that DJ was scrambling. I mean, it was that bad. Georgia schemed up very well. They brought pressure from different ways. And I was mentioning this on the preview. The way Georgia is able to disguise pressure and confuse and, I guess, limit the communication among offensive linemen is what makes this front seven so dangerous. The way they'll walk people down into the box and then the D lineman will drop into coverage. They'll bring a linebacker. They'll bring a DB. Kirby is so creative with the play calling and the schemes that this Clemson offensive line, which was a question coming in, stood no chance. They honestly didn't have a clue what was going on. You could tell it was the first game. You could tell the chemistry wasn't there, and Georgia absolutely took advantage of it. This defense is for real. I think Georgia will be fine on the offensive side of the ball. I think Clemson will as well moving forward. I just think what we saw are two great defensive minds, arguably the two best in the entire country, going head-to-head. They both put up a clinic, but Georgia had that one pick six, which they took to the house. So the one mistake DJ made, Georgia really made them pay there. But looking at one thing I do want to mention was the touchdown interception that they got. That I was so impressed with how Georgia's secondary stepped up. Chris Smith back there. I also want to shout out to, I believe I'm blanking on his name. I think it's like Beanie or something like that. The guy who was starting in place of Tyke Smith. Both of those guys played outstanding football. Ringo on the outside was doing his thing. I thought Georgia's secondary, even without arguably the best player on the back end, had an outstanding game. They made DJ look like a walk-on. I mean, that's how well this defense played tonight. For me, Georgia, this is a statement win. They should be number 2 when the rankings come out Sunday or Monday. Clemson, I wouldn't drop them too far, probably right at the borderline, right somewhere in that 8 to 10 spot. But for me, what Georgia did is they said, okay, Alabama looked really great at 2:30. Don't worry about that. We're going to look even better. I do want to see what this Georgia offense could look like when all their receivers come back, when they get some help on the outside. But I thought Bowers did a great job. I thought Rosemary Saint did a good job till he got hurt. Burton had some potential. For me, he had so many people get the ball that they were spreading it out. They were putting running backs in the slot. I thought this offense did what they could. And right now, for them to get the win, missing Tyke Smith, missing their wide receivers, they had an offensive lineman injury early in the game. Georgia just had the will, and they showed that they can win a tough slugfest. And I am so impressed with what the Bulldogs pulled off tonight. And for Clemson, I think the offense is fine, and I definitely think the defense is fine. What you have to do is you're going to have to find a consistent running game. If you can't run the ball, DJ and this Clemson team are in trouble. Will Shipley could be the guy. I mean, I guess Dixon. I really like Shipley in terms of what he brings in the receiving game too. You have to find a way to establish the run, and your offensive line has to communicate better and has to just hold on to their blocks and execute. The execution on the offensive line is what really cost Clemson this game, because they'd be establishing a drive, and then right at the end of the drive, they'd give up a big sack or give up a big loss of yardage. And then when you get in those 3rd and 11s to 3rd and 15s, Kirby would just dial up a blitz and he'd get to the quarterback every time because that O-line wasn't ready. But they get South Carolina State, an FCS team, and they get Georgia Tech for the next 2 weeks. Those are 2 great games to kind of get this offense rolling, get some confidence in DJ, get some confidence in your running game. And so I think Clemson will be fine, guys. No huge overreactions for me. If you watch another channel that overreacts, that's fine. Week 1 overreactions are the worst thing in the world. But right now, Clemson's fine. They just got beat by, right now, I think a better team, and especially a defensive better team, because Georgia put on a clinic. And for Georgia, for me, I think this makes them, when I was looking at their schedule, I pulled it up before I was recording. I don't see a team in the SEC East that probably can get within 20 points of Georgia. I'm just going to be completely honest. I don't know if they're going to have a test until they get to the SEC championship. They get UAB next week, and they get South Carolina the next week. I don't think that's going to really affect them. Then they get Vandy. I don't think Auburn's there. I mean, I don't see who challenges this Georgia team. It's sad that their toughest two games, honestly, looking at their schedule, are Florida on the 30th and Auburn on the 9th. And I don't think Auburn's anywhere near this team. And I think the closest game of the season will be Florida. And I still think right now Georgia could beat them by 20 or more. I mean, that's how strong this defense is. And there's questions at quarterbacks for all these teams. Georgia's walking to the SEC championship as of right now. And I can't wait for that matchup potentially with Alabama at the end of the season. Guys, I just wanted to come on here, give an instant reaction, a 10-minute episode, 10, 15-minute episode, just get my thoughts out because I was so excited for this game. I know all you guys were too. Listen, if you're new, hit that subscribe button, man. Join the Blue Bloods. We got so much football content coming y'all's way. Hit the like button, share it with your groups, share it with your friends and family, man. I appreciate all the support. But, guys, we're going to have a whole week one recap starting to drop tomorrow, so make sure to subscribe so you can tune in for that. But tonight, the Georgia Bulldogs pulled off the biggest win of the year, 10-3 over the Clemson Tigers. Defensive just expose tonight in Charlotte for the Georgia defense. 2 rushing yards allowed, 7 sacks. Guys, it was impressive. I love what Kirby Smart's doing. Pay attention to the Bulldogs, guys. But for right now on the Blue Bloods, man, we'll see y'all tomorrow.